This is Creepy and Geeky, a part of the Morbidly Beautiful Podcast Network. Welcome to Creepy and Geeky. I'm your host, Robert, and on today's MCU episode, we're talking about Black Panther. Joining me for this episode is friend, frequent guest, and fellow podcaster, Donna the Dead. Welcome back to the show, Donna.
Hey, thank you so much for having me back. You know I love
Of
visiting you.
course. And I love having you come and visit me as much as possible.
I know people are getting so tired of hearing me, but you know what? I've been your
I
friend for a long time. I reserved my spot a long time ago.
exactly. And I'm gonna have you on as much as I can get you on. If I could make you a permanent co-host, I probably would. So all right. Well, we are talking the first Black Panther movie today, which was a huge deal for the MCU. Um, I would like to acknowledge that this is not the first black superhero that's ever been on film, even though some people like to forget that Blade exists.
hmm
Um, and and even farther back, I mean, there are other non-Marvel related superheroes that have been in other things. But this is the real, like, in terms of Marvel, the first big mainstream, and especially for the MCU, this is the first big Marvel thing, uh,
Yeah.
with a black hero, and predominantly black cast, black uh,
Director.
black director.
hmm
Just everybody on board is just doing it right this time. So it's but this is we're deep into phase three. This is the what is this? This the is this see now I'm blanking.
No, it's okay.
Uh this is the episode. This is the movie just before Infinity War. So um yeah, so this is the last movie before we get the big giant everybody in Marvel, everybody in the MCU crossover.
Right.
So it's a huge deal. So uh it's this is, for me, it was a big deal, and a really big, uh awesome fun movie. But what was your take on it?
So I can tell you, I was glad that I got to see this in theaters. It was
Yeah.
really I don't know if I can describe it, but it was a really amazing experience to go see it. And I was already kind of keyed up when we saw his first appearance in what was it, Civil
Yeah.
War.
Civil War.
So I was already kind of hyped up and I was already like, okay, so this movie is it's gotta be top tier, one of the best ones because like you stated, it's one of our first MCU, black superheroes. Black Panther has always been one of my favorite characters in the comics, just because I grew up with uncles who introduced me to that character and you
Right.
know being someone who's an African American and then seeing that kind of rich kind of heritage in the comics with Wakanda and the way that T'Challa and everybody carries themselves to see it on the big screen. I'm telling you, MCU has made me feel like a kid every time I watch one of these movies because you pour over these comics as a teen or as a preteen, and then when you get to see it as an adult, it's like you really get transported back to being a kid. And
Right.
it was just a really awesome experience. And then you got to see how so many people loved dressing up to go see this movie. I
Yeah.
was not one of those people, but it was nice to see it all over social media, people wearing all of the African cloths and the clothes and just kind of really coming very regal and royal and really just kind of embodying that feeling of, that Wakanda spirit and being a part of this one huge tribe. Um, I can't tell you. I mean, I was smiling from the very first time I saw it come up in theaters, it's like, oh my God, this is crazy. What is going on? Um, and I always have to impart my mom in these things, but I, it makes me a little sad, and it's a happy sad because I know my mom
Right.
would have been one of those people dressing up in like her finest gear to go see this movie like over and over and over. So, it's almost, I feel like almost a part of her was there with me watching it because as much as I geeked out over this film, my mother would have completely had a heart attack. She would have just been like, okay, we're going every weekend. We're going to support this movie every weekend. And not to mention that Chadwick Boseman is a South Carolinian, so we definitely were going to
Yeah.
go see this movie every weekend if we could. Um, but just like you said, to have Ryan Coogler be this, young up and coming black director, and he was already well known for the movies he did, like with Michael B. Jordan, The Fruitvale Station, and all of these other things. But
Right.
he really knew what he was doing when he brought these characters to life, and everybody, like you said, just they played their part and they played it so well. You almost felt
Yeah.
like you were going into Wakanda with these people and learning about everything that was going on. It was beautiful. It was one of my top favorite cinematic performances and one of my top favorite cinematic movie outings of that year because I think it blew me away. I was super excited, as you can tell by
Yeah.
me going on.
No, yeah, that's for me, I enjoyed it a lot. I like the character from the comic books. And that's the thing. Like I don't know if I've really I mean, I know I've talked about it a lot that,
Hmm.
I come from comic books. I've been reading comic books my whole life. And how much this means to me in general, the MCU, getting to see this, anytime getting to see any Marvel characters has been great.
Hmm.
But once the MCU came together and they started doing all the crossover stuff and making it really feel like the comic books, I don't think that anybody who didn't read the comic books um before that point can really understand what this means to people like us.
Hmm.
This is like, people, I know there are people who've come to the comic books later or and maybe dabbled in them a little bit, but people who really read the comic books when they were kids, way before these came out,
Hmm.
and just really kind of enjoyed the Marvel universe as a whole. Once these movies came out, it was next level. Um, it was everything that we loved about the comic books come to real life. And that's why anytime anybody kind of poo-poos them nowadays, and I'm not going to say that they haven't made missteps. They totally
Hmm.
have all along
Of
the way.
course.
But that's how it is even in the comic books. Not every comic book is like the best thing ever. We've read tons of bad Marvel comics.
Shitty comic books, yeah.
Yeah. And so, but it's about the universe and it's about how everything connects and the small little Easter eggs that they put in and everything that, are there for the comic book fans who like are going to catch something that nobody else is going to catch. Um, that's what makes it so cool and fascinating for us. And it's just, it's that kind of attention to detail, both like by Kevin Feige and everybody involved, everybody who gets involved in these and really dives deep and really focuses on all that stuff and really pays attention to those little
Hmm.
details. It just makes you as a fan just so much happier that you get to finally see this on screen because I could
Right.
like honestly like as much as I love this now, I couldn't have imagined that they would ever actually do it like this.
No.
Um, Especially after we got the Spider-Man movies and we got the Fantastic Four movies and the X-Men stuff and everything. They were okay, they were fun, but they weren't
Nothing
what
to
we have
this level.
now.
Yeah, nothing
Yeah.
to this level. And then what's so great about it too is I always tell people things happen right on time, not to sound all new agey, but we really needed to wait to get to this phase of
Yeah.
the MCU to get these kind of effects, to get that particular director that had that vision. It wouldn't have worked, you know. You would have had somebody who was might have been young and out of the gate and not know what they were doing, but you could tell by the way that he directed this film, he clearly was a fan and he talked to the
Yeah.
characters and talked to the actors about, the characters they were portraying. And it just came across so flawlessly. Like everything just came across like it was just real. I don't know if I can,
Right.
yeah, it just, to me, it did anyway. There was just so much
Yeah.
heart and so much humor and so much regalness and royalty. Everything just felt so authentic to me. And when I watched this movie, and I did a rewatch the other day, and I was just like, man, this movie slaps like hell. It's just like so good.
It does. Yeah. No, it's really good. Everybody is so good in this movie. Everybody is like cast on point. We get so many great actors in this. I mean, we've already mentioned Chadwick Boseman, of course, and nothing about anything Black Panther related um goes without him. Like
No.
he's everything. Like even the new movie, the Wakanda Forever movie,
Mhm.
that lays upon the shoulders of his legacy.
It
And
really does. And that says a lot because his performance was so wonderful. It was just, and I had
right,
seen him in other things before. I saw him in the James Brown biopic, Get
right,
Up, and then I saw him in I think it was what, 42. Is it Jackie Robinson? I'm not
Jackie
a sports
Robinson.
person,
Yeah,
but I
yeah, I
watched that
think
movie.
so.
Yeah, and it was really, and he's really good at playing these real life people, but man, just everything about him, he just had a lot of heart, he had a lot of charisma. There was a lot of, you could tell when he was really just kind of sad and, everything he
Yeah,
conveyed, it just came across so real. And that, like, you're right, it really is on his shoulders, but he does know how to carry it.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen a more charismatic actor. And I know back in the day, like in the 80s, that at one point, I think Wesley Snipes wanted to play this character. And
Right,
I think there was some talk about Denzel Washington. I was like, I don't think I could see either of them in this role.
right,
I'm sorry. Now, I love both of them. I'm just saying, I don't think
right.
I could
Yeah,
see them.
exactly. Yeah. No, I think Blade was perfect for Wesley Snipes, and I think this role was perfect for Chadwick Boseman. I mean, and that's the thing. I think you almost needed somebody who wasn't a huge name.
Exactly.
Um, you needed somebody who obviously had the chops to do the acting in this,
But
but
wasn't like
somebody
a Will
who,
Smith or somebody that you can't
yeah, yeah,
unsee that
exactly,
character that he always plays in
exactly.
a movie. Nothing against these people. Once again, I love these
No,
actors, but like we've had this discussion before, like when we saw Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, it's like who the fuck is
yeah,
Hugh Jackman? And now you can't
exactly,
think of anything but Hugh Jackman when you think of Wolverine.
right,
So with him not being a household name for us, Hugh Jackman, we that was perfect because if it had been
right,
anybody else, we would have been like, oh no, we've seen him do XYZ. I don't want to see that guy do that. he
right,
he was just he was just perfect. And not only was he perfect, I unfortunately I was kind of like, when I say unfortunately, I was shocked that I enjoyed Michael B. Jordan as a villain. I didn't think I would ever, because he's always the nice guy. He's always the nice,
right,
and the nice guys always want to play one villain. Denzel played one in Training Day. We always want to play somebody
right.
dastardly because everybody knows that you're the nice person. But he really was selling it as Killmonger. I mean, he
Yeah.
he really was bringing it in this movie.
No, yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. I going back to Bozeman real quick. He like that's the interesting thing is about like because of his death now that he will be out forever remembered as the Black Panther, as
Oh,
T'Challa.
hands
That
down.
will be the role that he will have, and it'll be hard. They will eventually recast. I know they
They
will.
will.
It's just going to be a matter of time. But I like that they didn't recast him right away. That they
Me
decided to
too.
just move on, and that we'll get somebody else down the road, and that's fine. But for right now, he is T'Challa so much that he'll never not be him
He
for
he's
so
he's the
many.
shining prince of what
Yeah.
we, and I say we very liberally, but of what that African country of Wakanda needed. It's the same thing as a lot of African Americans. We see him as this really awesome example of what people can be. And you're right. Forever etched in our brains and our hearts. That's who he is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's I I think he will just, and that's the great thing about it, is that he did so well in the role that nobody can take it away from him.
Nope.
Um, and that and to find out that he had cancer the entire time, from the first moment he put on that suit, he had cancer, like
Yeah.
the whole time. Like, and that's what's crazy. He did everything he did that whole time fighting that battle, and it's just heartbreaking in the end. I mean, I'm glad that we got the time we did with him, because he
Yeah.
was so good in that role, and he did so good. And I love that he got to even do some voice work for the What If
For the
series.
what ifs. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we got some last little bits with him before he was gone. And
And he saw
you
it
know
too. He could see
yeah,
in the kids and the fans and even the kids that didn't share the same hue as he did.
yeah,
So many kids looked up to this character and so many kids were enamored with him and in
yeah,
awe of him, and he knew that that was a nice gift that he could leave everybody. I love the fact that yes, we lost him, but when you think about all of the interviews and stuff that he did, he was always smiling. He was always very gracious.
yeah,
He never put on a pity party. He didn't want people to remember him that way, and I
yeah,
think that itself is courageous because I don't know if I could be that strong in the public eye and do a press release after press release and interview after interview and still just know your time is short. I mean, our time is always
yeah,
short. We know we have limited time here, but I mean, to know that he had that going on and then he was still just one of the most humble people out here and so gracious with everybody. It broke my heart. I know it broke everybody's heart, but it
yeah,
broke my heart. And you're right. We were very lucky that we had the time that we had with him because man, he left a huge impression on not only the
oh yeah,
MCU but on so many people.
yeah. And I think that's what's interesting about it too, because it transcended everything else. Like, yes,
Mhm.
it was a Marvel movie and everything like that, but the meaning behind everything with it was so much more than just the movie.
Mhm.
It was, there was so much built into it, and thankfully, it succeeded very well. um because I would have hated for it not to have succeeded, and for people to go, oh well, see, you don't need to be making movies like that. Screw that. Obviously it
Yeah.
did well enough, and it proved to people that you can have a movie like this, make it very specifically African,
Mhm.
and people will go to it. Lots of people will go to it. Um, it's not my culture, but I enjoyed the hell out of this movie.
Yeah. And people
So
went time and time again. There were people going multiple
yeah,
times.
exactly. So that's what I love about it, is because it transcended so much more than just what it was.
Right.
And that's what's great about it. I love that aspect of it. Um, but yeah, but yeah, getting back to Michael B. Jordan, he plays an excellent villain. I hadn't seen him in much before this. I think maybe the only
Mhm.
thing I'd seen him in possibly was Chronicle. Um,
Oh yeah, he was completely a goody goody in that movie.
yeah, and
And
so
typically, go ahead. I didn't
yeah,
mean to interrupt.
no, 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 and I was just saying that it just, I hadn't seen him in a lot, so I didn't have um that back history with him, of him just always playing a good guy, and
Mhm.
then him turning on the bad guy role, which is, oh, it's just always fun when you've seen somebody playing nothing but good guys.
Well, it's so weird too because I kind of watched this kid grow up. Like I've seen him in numerous things throughout the year, but the thing I remembered and that stood out the most for me was he was actually on the HBO show The Wire, and he played one of the younger kids who sold drugs for like one of the larger kingpins, and
Oh, okay.
you could tell he was going to be a breakout star from what he kind of conveyed on The Wire. He was like,
Yeah,
very sensitive and he didn't know what he wanted to do, but that was the only life he knew. And he was very charismatic then, and then I started seeing him in like rom-coms, and of course he started working out, so he was like taking his shirt off every 5 minutes, which I'm not mad at. I'm never mad when people want to take their shirt off, man or woman, take your shirt off. I don't care. But he's always playing such a nice, a nice person. And so when I saw this, I was like, can I really see him as Killmonger? And then after about 20 minutes of watching him, I was like, oh my God, this is insane. Like he's really good at this.
It's funny. Yeah, no, he's really good. He's an excellent villain, and he's one of the more what you would call sympathetic villains in
Hmm.
the MCU. The ones that you can kind of agree with their grievance, but not their methods.
So
Um,
that's what I love about some of the antagonists that we have in these Marvel
mhm.
movies. They really aren't wrong. They're not 100% wrong and they're
Some
not
of them, yeah,
100% right.
yeah,
Some of them. He is a good point. He's a good example of that because,
yeah,
as we found out, he actually is the cousin to T'Challa and,
right,
had his father brought him back, Eric might not have turned out the way he did.
exactly,
He
yeah,
might have been an extra person to, be a second in command to T'Challa, or, as things turned out, he may have ended up being the next Black Panther. But,
yeah,
for the want of a nail, they just left this kid. So, um, I can understand where he's coming from. I don't think
right,
like you said, his methods aren't correct, but
right,
I can see
yeah.
why he's the way he is.
Yeah, and I think that's where most people who have watched the movies have come from, is just that yes, we can all agree he had a good reason for doing what he did. He just went about it the wrong way. And
Hmm.
I would say, like, another character, again, another Black Panther villain would be Namor, who
Oh yeah.
also has good has a good reason for doing what they do, but goes about it the wrong way.
Yeah, not
And
every antagonist is evil. They
no,
have a skewed vision of what they think is right. But
right,
Namor is definitely another good example of that in these films.
right,
Because he just wants to protect his people just like they do.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, I think he's really good. I think, he's obviously, he was twisted by his grief and by his upbringing, and then, got twisted even more by being in the, government shadow
Hmm.
ops stuff that he had to do, and exactly like Everett Ross tells everybody, is that, this was what he was good at: toppling governments,
Hmm.
and,
Crushing
and
regimes, sneaking
yeah,
in.
yeah, doing everything he did, and that's what his goal was to basically, he was going to use Wakanda to topple everybody else, and then once that was done, he was going to topple Wakanda. And
Yeah.
so, and because he didn't care in the end, none of that mattered to him. He was all about the destruction of everybody in the end. So because he couldn't see past that grief.
Yep. And it's that
So
one thing too that I always go back to, yes, you had something that was wrong. You were wronged and you had
right,
your father taken away from you, but a lot of people have their parents or loved ones taken away and they find reason to keep going on and do better. They don't think to do
right,
worse. And at no point
yeah,
during his life did he think to do better with what he knew. He just thought
exactly,
of, like you said, the grief. Sometimes grief, you just gotta let that shit go.
yeah, yeah. And it's hard to let that go, and I get it, but yeah, no, I agree with you that, this is that example of somebody who needed to take that step back, get some therapy, something other than doing what he ended up doing, because it just, ends up, there's no happiness for anybody in the end for that.
No, it's
So
it's one of the best quotes I ever heard was when you have anger, it's like a curved dagger, it's a curved blade. You're not hurting anybody but yourself. So you're poisoning yourself with all of this hate, and then that's all that you see. It's like somebody that can
Exactly.
only see bad things happening all the time. It's like the more you see that, that's all you're going to have is bad things happen because that's all you see. So the more rage-filled and more grief-filled you are, that's all you're going to want. You're going to want to see people grieve like you grieve. You're going to want to you feed off of that, and
Right.
it's unfortunate because like he would have been one of the strongest allies in Wakanda if only they had
Yeah.
just thought to bring that boy back home with them. That angers
Yeah.
me just like it angered T'Challa. He wasn't
Yeah.
wrong for saying that they were wrong for leaving him because that's terrible.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. And that's the thing. Even at the end, T'Challa's like, "Hey, we can save you," but Killmonger again could not see past his own hatred at that moment, and he's like, "You would just keep me in a cage,"
Yeah.
and it's like, but you don't know that. Look at how T'Challa forgave um what's his name, um Bucky.
Oh,
you know
Bucky, yeah.
not that Bucky had anything to do with what happened, but that because Bucky was used in Civil War in those moments. But it's I think that this is what's interesting about the MCU also is that they deal with some heavy stuff. People like to dismiss a lot of this as just flashy,
Hmm.
beat 'em ups and everything like that. But they
No, they
really are
going through
dealing
some
with some
shit.
heavy. They are going through some shit, and they're dealing with a lot of heavy thoughts and feelings and everything. And when you really dig down into these, and you don't have to dig very deep, it's not like they're trying to hide these
Right.
these things, but it's just like, but it's that's what's great about going back and rewatching these a lot of times too, is that you can enjoy it on the fun level of just everybody beating each
The
other up, but
surface
then you
stuff.
can come
Yeah.
back, yeah, you can dig a little deeper and just enjoy it on those more metaphorical and deeper levels, that there's more going on here than anything else. And I mean, it's like the whole real story of this movie is all about Wakanda having hidden for centuries, um becoming this technological marvel and not helping anybody else in the outside world,
Hmm.
because they didn't want to be used, and which is fair, absolutely fair,
I
especially
mean,
after they've seen so many people, so many black people getting used and abused like that over the centuries. Like,
I
of
mean, and
course you're gonna,
historically, it's
yeah,
it's it's a historical thing, when people see that you have something that they can use for personal gain, they're gonna take as much of that as they can. And with Wakanda, they already knew these things, we use it for technology. You're gonna use it to make weapons, and we really are not gonna be a part of that.
right,
So
yeah,
I can understand them wanting to keep that quiet. I mean,
yeah,
if
yeah,
we
no,
really
I
think
agree.
about how once Killmonger gets there, that's the first thing he wants to do is weaponize everybody. Can you imagine? We we see people, and not to be, I'm gonna get preachy, I'm gonna get on my soapbox, I'm gonna get right back off, I swear. But we see people with guns. Guns are on the news every single day to the point where people don't even register that something has happened because we see gun violence every day. Can you imagine if we had people that had vibranium filled weapons? I mean, they'd be capping
Right.
people up. Road rage would be ridiculous. You would just
Oh
see
yeah.
cars exploding I mean, rational people don't do weird things, but irrational people do. And, to give these type of unthinkable weapons and then to wage a war and then to have other people also trying to take vibranium to make these weapons. And what was it that they said? It's undetectable to metal detectors, so they can
Yeah.
you could smuggle these things. When they said that in Wakanda Forever and people were trying to I was like, oh my God, we would have so many world wars. It'd be like war every 5 minutes with these
Yeah.
weapons. It's insane.
Well,
I do love, oh, go ahead.
yeah, no, 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 go ahead.
I was going to say, I do love, however, how because of the technology, everybody thinks that Wakanda is such a poor place. And I love that opening
Right.
scene where they go in, and this place looks like it's like, you know, in 2050. It's like they have
Right.
like all of this amazing technology, and Shuri is like, a mega hella genius. And I'm just like, this is insane. We're thinking it's just gonna be like maybe upscale. I was thinking maybe upscale skyscrapers and stuff, but no, like things are running on vibranium, and they've got like, it's just like the most beautiful place. Like, if I could move there, I would move there. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
I would move right in. It'd be no question. Absolutely amazing. I mean, they're flying
Oh
things
yeah.
without touching them. It's crazy.
Well, and then they've got the Kimoyo beads and everything
The
else. It's
Kamoyo
just like
bees.
they're
I
so
love it.
like everything is like so cool. And it's so fun to have read some of the Black Panther comic books beforehand and to see some of this translated because the Kimoyo beads were part of the comic book universe
Hmm.
earlier on. The designs of the ships were taken straight out of the comic books. So there's so much that's just it's great to have
They knew
seen
what they were doing.
now
It's so
translated into
gorgeous.
live action. Oh yeah. So it's so much fun. And I was gonna all I was gonna say was you see that part when they go into the club that Okoye and all them walk through, and none of them set off um
Alarmed.
the metal detector.
And then Claw
And
does,
then she
right? Oh no, he
yeah.
doesn't because he's got the vibranium arm too, doesn't he?
Well, no, they all go through and they all beep, and it doesn't matter that they beep him and his crew all beep. But but yeah. What was I gonna say? But yeah, when Okoye pulls out that spear like
Right.
midway through and everything, you're just like, okay, yeah. So obviously those don't set off the metal detectors. So
That's crazy. I love that scene because she's so uncomfortable because she's wearing the wig, and
that
she's
wig, yeah,
it's
it's
so
so funny.
cute.
Yeah,
And
but
this one did
yeah,
have a
no,
lot of humor too. I mean, they
oh
kind of
yeah,
just they like really give Ross like hell, they call him colonizer, and they they do all of
right.
these like really cool things.
The only two white guys in the whole movie are him and Andy Serkis. It's so funny. Because
Yeah,
the whole joke
it's
for
it's
this
really
movie is
funny
they're the Tolkien white
because
guys
they were
because they're
two
both
token
they were
characters.
both yeah, Gollum and
That's
what's his
so
name?
cute.
Not Frodo. Was it the
Bilbo, was he Bilbo?
Bilbo? Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah. So it was just such a great play on words, especially,
that's
because
so
again,
great.
you have so many movies filled with white people and you get one or two black people. And it was great to just have that reverse this time.
Yeah, it's
Just
nice,
have
and it's funny
yeah.
too because when they bring Ross back to Wakanda, obviously because he was shot, and I like Shuri's little comment, "Oh, great, another white boy for me to fix." I
Yeah.
couldn't stop laughing, but it was nice.
Yeah.
It was nice to see
Yeah.
so many people in their element, and obviously, how did I forget to talk about Angela Bassett? Oh my
Oh no,
gosh.
yeah, we're gonna talk about all the characters because
Okay.
I was just gonna get into that, like, because we still gotta talk about her, we gotta talk about Lupita, um, and then Okoye
Gorgeous.
herself.
They're all so gorgeous and luminous. Oh my goodness, those ladies are radiant and strong as hell. Oh my gosh.
The only problem I had with it was just that Angela Bassett doesn't get much screen time for somebody of her stature, and I get that that's the chance she took in taking this role. Obviously, she's just going to play the queen and everything like that. She's such a good actor. It always feels weird that she just doesn't get more screen time.
I think they just wanted to make certain that they had more screen time for Chadwick Boseman to
Oh,
really
of
kind of
course.
do his
Yeah.
thing. So I didn't mind that she didn't have as much, and I felt like she had a really good amount in the
Right.
Wakanda Forever. But she definitely was ever much a mom and a queen. She always is a
Yeah.
queen as far as I'm concerned. But
Well, she did awesome with what she had. That's as much as I said that, she didn't get much. I think that
right,
what she did have was so great. I mean, Angela Bassett just, is always going to be above and beyond for
always.
whenever she does any job. So it's always great to see her on screen. Um, but yeah, her and like I said, we get Lupita Nyong'o play Nakia, which is great. It's always fun seeing her and stuff. Um, and then and I can't think of her name right now, the one that plays Okoye. Um,
Denai Guerrera. I always butcher her
yeah,
name. I know it's
yeah,
Denai
same.
Guerrera, maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Um, so I like the fact that we get both Lupita and Winston Duke in this movie because they both
Yes,
were.
yes, in us. Yes,
So
us
yeah,
fans right here.
yeah,
Um,
it was very nice to see that
yeah. And I think this actually does this I think this predates us.
by a
Um,
year. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's yeah, it's yeah, I love Winston Duke in this. Yeah, he's like there's so many
Oh,
people to
and
talk about
Baku
in
is
this movie.
so great. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. He is like everybody's annoying big brother. I absolutely love that character so much. And he is definitely the comic relief we needed at the later point in the movie where they come in there
Right.
and he's like, you know, quiet or I'll feed you to my children. And then he goes, oh, no, we're vegetarians.
Right.
What? It's just his presence is really great. Everybody just brought their A game to this movie, and I was very happy to see it. And it was nice to see Martin Freeman too. I know
Oh yeah.
I
I
my
love Martin
husband
Freeman.
I do too, and I've loved him ever since The Office, the British version of The Office. But um, he my husband and I always joke. We say my husband said, "Do you think he'd be invited to the cookout?" And I said, "Yeah, he definitely would be invited to the cookout in Wakanda. They would not have a problem with him.
Yeah,
Agent Ross
yeah.
is definitely coming to the cookout." Him and
That's
him
too
and
funny.
Bucky, they're the only two that
Yeah,
will
yeah.
ever be allowed to the cookout. That's it.
Maybe Cap. Yeah.
Maybe Cap. If Bucky brings
Definitely
him,
not
then I
Stark.
guess no, 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 no. But Cap can come if Bucky brings him. He can fix a plate.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think he would be
This
okay
is plus
with.
one. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's
Oh,
so
that's
funny.
too funny.
But yeah, and then Shuri. I'm forgetting
Yes.
Shuri. The kid genius. My gosh, that girl's brain was off the charts, and she made such great designs.
Yeah.
I just
Oh
was
yeah.
so impressed with everything, and she also brought comic relief too, like ever much the little sister to the king
Right.
that she gets to humble all the time.
Right. Always gets to knock him down and a peg or two. Just like little sisters are supposed to.
Any other little sister, right? Yeah, the
Yeah.
sibling thing was really nice, and
Yeah.
that was another case of, when we got to Wakanda Forever, it broke my heart that she was so heartbroken throughout that whole movie
Right.
and also consumed with grief. Like you said, these movies, they have a lot on the surface, but there's a lot underneath that's
Yeah.
really heavy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that phase four, a lot of people complained about it, but when you look at it once you kind of look at it all together, you can see that the through line through all the movies is grief.
Hmm.
Um, because it's the after effects of Endgame and how the world moves on after that, and how all these characters move on after that. So it's definitely um, you know, something that is great about the MCU. Like I said before, it's just always there's always something more there than just the
Than just
surface.
comics. Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the
But
reasons why I always love Marvel so much because
yeah,
they kind of just delve into a lot of things. At one point Tony Stark was an alcoholic.
yeah,
We have a lot of people that have a lot of grief because they lose people, and Xavier loses a lot of people, and you know Dark
yeah,
Phoenix is Dark Phoenix and they don't know what to do. It's just
yeah,
you feel bad for all these people. And think about somebody like Logan, the character Wolverine. He's always going to lose people because he's old and people
yeah,
die and he
yeah.
can't save everybody. So, there's always a lot more going on in these comics, and I think that's why I love them so much. And this movie
Same.
had the same effect on me. It was like there was so much going on in this, and I felt so bad because on one hand, I understand why Killmonger, why Eric was the way he was, and then you feel bad because here it is, T'Challa knew nothing of this child, and um, what was I'm drawing a blank now. Forrest Whitaker's character, um,
Zuri.
he knew about this
Yeah.
kid the whole time, and he never
Yeah.
once said anything to anybody, and it's all of these secrets and just like any other family, every family has some secret. And here
Right.
it is. He knew that this kid was out there, and they probably could have gone back to get him at any
I
point.
That's just what baffles me about the whole thing too, is just like, why would you leave the kid behind? Like even despite whatever you had to do to stop, his brother or his father and everything, which is understandable, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But you, by leaving him there, you brought the vengeance upon yourself.
You brought it
If you
on
had brought
yourself.
him in, and you know
Raised him
and
there.
raised him right, then things would have been a whole lot different.
And you could
Maybe
have
not
also,
completely different, but you would have hopefully have cut off some of that, because obviously there was that internal strife with Wakabi. He felt the same way that Killmonger did,
yeah.
and that's why he readily embraced him. Again, another great actor, Daniel Kaluuya,
Oh,
Kaluuya
love him.
from Get Out and Nope. So he's more Jordan Peele connections.
Yeah.
Um,
But
but
it's true though. If
yeah,
they had, even despite killing Eric's father, which was his brother,
right.
I feel the same way. I feel like you could have explained it to him, especially as he got older. This is why we had to do what we do. Because if he lived in Wakanda and grew up and got all of that, the love and support that he definitely needed, I think, like you said, he wouldn't have forgiven it. He wouldn't have forgiven right away, but he would have understood at some point had they explained it to him and shown him a different way of living. And it was terrible that he didn't get to see what Wakanda was until, he was already consumed at that point. He didn't care.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just that's what's frustrating about it too, is that like things, and of course it's a movie, and we know it's just going to go whichever way it's going
Right.
to go, but it's fun to think about, and it's just like, you know but y'all brought it on yourself, it
Yeah.
partially by trying to hide this thing, and then also by not trying to find a way to open yourselves to the world. That you don't have to do it by like how T'Challa does it at the very end of the movie too. I think that in a lot of ways that's the wrong way as
Hmm.
well. You can, I mean, not in the terms of him opening up the center and everything like that. That part was great, but him going to the UN and going, hey, here's what we got.
Right.
We want to share it with the world. And it's like, okay, but do it slowly, roll it out, like let people know a little bit by little bit without you know throwing on the
Giving
whole
them the
load,
whole
because
thing. Yeah.
yeah, because we see the consequences of that in the next movie.
And Wakanda
And so
forever.
yeah.
Exactly. And the other thing too, I was gonna say was that it all could have been handled differently. And like you said, we know it's a movie. We know that. But
Right.
when you have those secrets and you have those things that somebody should have known. I mean, even his mother didn't know. His mother didn't even
Yeah.
know. How do you keep that from your wife? I don't.
Right.
I'm sorry. I've been married too long. I'm just like, how do you keep that from your wife for that long and her not know?
Right.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. No, it's it's just weird. It's just like, yeah, you're setting yourself up for that failure when that check comes calling.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think that it's this is this is a fun movie. It's got a lot to say. It's got great performances. Now, I will say one of the bad things about it is sometimes the digital effects are kind of eh, especially during the fight sequence between him and Killmonger at the
Oh,
end
when they're
with
where
the
the
trains.
yeah, that does look a little hokey. I will give you that.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
still looks better than the CGI we saw in Blade 2. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah,
I will take that
absolutely.
over that any day.
Absolutely.
I think we just like totally raised over that movie when we were talking. But I mean,
Yeah.
it does look a little, I don't want to say janky, but it does look a little odd, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's
Yeah.
okay. I can handle that. I can take that.
Yeah, it's I think that's what's outside of that, I think otherwise like it's there's so much fun in this. The one of the only gripes I have too is that they kill off Claw. Um
So
and
fast. Yeah.
yeah, he's such a like we only see him in this and Age of Ultron.
He
I
was
feel like
so
we
much
barely
fun.
had any time with him. Yeah, he was
In
a
this one
fun villain.
especially, he was just having so much fun doing what he was doing. And like when he's in the club and then all the money goes over and he's like, I made it rain, and he's
Yeah,
talking about a hip hop tape. And I'm like, what
yeah,
are you talking about? He was really enjoying this. And I wish we could have, I agree. I wish we had caught a little bit more. He was just
yeah,
way too
absolutely.
much fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's what always frustrates me too is when a good villain like that dies, they kill him off early like that, and I'm just like, yeah, man, you guys wasted that opportunity. Like, don't get me wrong, Claw in the comic books is kind of a not great villain,
Hmm.
but I think that the way they had him portrayed in the MCU was so much better and more interesting, and so it would have been fun to keep him as a thorn in the Black Panther's side. So
Yeah. I wouldn't have mind him just kind of popping up, that would have been
yeah,
kind of neat.
yeah, just always managing to get away just barely or something,
Of
you know.
course.
So and that's why I think they need to start doing things like that a little bit more in the MCU is just letting the villain get away. Taking, obviously, taking their lumps and you know having to abandon whatever their current um you know, ploy is, but
Hmm.
let them get away so that way we're
Just let
not
them pop
killing
up
these
every now
villains.
and
Yeah,
then.
and so they
We've
come
had
back
this
again.
discussion before. They have these
I
really
know,
great villains and they just dispatch them so quickly. And we like,
so
what? That's
annoying.
all we get?
And you see when it works really well, like Loki. When you get a good fun villain like Loki, and you don't kill him right away, and you just take him into custody or something else, and you let
Right.
him get away, then he comes back, and it's more interesting when he comes back, and oh God, it's Loki again.
He's trying it
So
again. Yeah. Let's see what
yeah,
he's gonna do now.
so it's just like and they did that with they've kind of done that with what's his name, Batroc or Batroc, in Captain America, Winter Soldier, and then again later in the Falcon and Winter Soldier. So they took him into custody, he got out,
Hmm.
he he's doing bad things again,
He's actually
and
a
so
fun villain. I love watching
yeah,
him.
I I wish he was more fun in the show as he is in the comic books. He's much more fun in the comic books.
Really?
Um, oh, he's much more flamboyant and fun in the comic books.
Huh.
Yeah,
I might have to check that out. I really do
yeah,
like him on the show, but now that you said that, my interest is piqued. I gotta
yeah.
check that out.
Look up Batroc the Leaper. Uh, he's much more fun. He's very flamboyant. It's definitely a more fun character, I think, in my opinion. But yeah. Um, but yeah. No, I'm trying to think of what else we haven't mentioned in terms of everything.
Well,
Um,
I can tell you one of the things that really had
yeah,
me jumping out of my seat was the fact that we had all of these women who were kicking so much ass. Like they
yeah,
like there's a reason why he has female guards because these ladies were the baddest ones ever. And I
yeah,
love the intro, when we get to see when they're in the apartment and it's King T'Chaka's I can't remember his dad's name. I always fuck it up. But anyway,
yeah. It's T'Chaka.
thank you. When he shows up with the guards and the guy looks at the people and he's like, "Oh yeah, some Grace Jones looking chick." I was like, I just love that. I was like, "Oh my God, that lady is going to hurt you." And he's like, yeah, you might want to let her in. She's not going to knock again."
Yeah, they're not going to knock twice. Yeah,
And I thought that was so funny because, they're very fierce guards. And, you know,
yeah,
typically to have female guards, that to me was like that says everything because that means Wakandans don't play around. Like like these women, they don't even need a man to take you out. These women will take you out. That's it. And then we also get Lupita's character, and she's really good at what she does. She was already on a
Yes.
mission when we encounter her, so she's not by any means a wallflower waiting for him to rescue her. She's the one out there doing all of the stuff. It's
Right.
cute, and it's nice to see them being so empowered and doing all of these things and fighting all of these men, and the fight scenes in this were unbelievable. Like I
Yeah.
couldn't take my eyes off of everything that was going on. It was crazy.
Yeah. No, I thought that that was really cool that they had that like the big battle between the two tribes,
Hmm.
between the Dora Milaje and the border tribe. And it was just it's like, and it just shows like that there was that difference in opinion, and that, like, even in this great society that had moved on from a lot of that other stuff, that still there would be issues. um
A lot of
and
issues, a
it's
lot of animosity, and a lot of hidden anger. Like he was
Yeah.
angry that T'Challa didn't bring Claw back, and then of course here we have Eric bringing the very thing that he wanted.
Right.
And I mean, I understand it, but like we were already talking about, the very first thing he's doing is he's already taking over Wakanda because there's already kind of
It's
a
already a faction
divide.
of people in there. Yeah,
Right.
there's already a divide. Yeah, and he's just
He's displaying
using that
them.
divide to wreck the
Exactly.
country already. Like, he doesn't care. He doesn't care that he's wrecking all these people's lives, and that he's destroying the country
Right,
from
because he's
within.
already coming from a broken part. He's already coming
Yeah.
as a broken spirit as it is. So to him, this is nothing. He doesn't know these people. He's not attached to them. Um, that was one of the things that really irritated me. And it was like, you're supposed to be this unified front, but you're not. Um, Even when he comes there and he wants to challenge him for, the in combat, and then the elders, these are people that sit on your council, and they're like, well, no, he's got us right to combat. And I'm like, you don't even know this man. Like literally,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know him from nothing. And I know he's got the tattoo on the inside of his lip, and I get that. But why? Why would you just be tradition or not? You really got to think about this.
Right.
And of course, by the
Yeah.
time he gets there, he's already hungry and angry, and he's gonna win. There was no way he wasn't gonna win because he was already ready for this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like, you have somebody coming in, and yes, he has a claim to, I think, certain aspects of his culture at that point. But to me, it's like, but you weren't part of the culture. Yes, you can come in and you can live as part of this culture for a bit, understand it more,
And
and
learn
then
it.
maybe we'll
Yeah.
give you the shot,
And then we'll give
but
you the
until that
challenge.
point, no, so
And let us learn about you. What have you done?
yeah,
Is this
exactly.
somebody that you would even want sitting in that seat? That part already pissed me off. I know it's a movie. Before
Right.
anybody comes at me, I know it's a movie. It's just, sometimes you see stuff and you're like, that makes no goddamn sense. Why would you do this?
Right. Yeah. No, I get it, and I agree with you. I think that that's one of those aspects of the movie that I think people are meant to do. That you're meant to go, wait
Hmm.
a minute, why are you guys just kowtowing to this guy and letting
Hmm.
him have this moment, just because you guys are feel shame about that thing. You didn't do that. You didn't cause that.
Right.
That was a choice that the former king made. That doesn't mean the sins of that king are now visited
It's not
upon
going
you
to
because
rest
you
on him.
choose. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. So, and that's what T'Challa said. I didn't do that. That was my father. What he did was wrong. Yes, but that doesn't mean that I have to pay for his sins.
Right.
And some, and that's, uh, they obviously, the elders and everybody decided against that, the council or whatever, and they let him take his shot. But
I did really like the fact that when he was taking the herb plant, I think the second time, and then he sees his father and all of the ancestors, and
Yes.
he says just that, this was something. Why did you leave him? This is now I gotta, basically I gotta deal with this shit because you fucked
Yeah.
him up.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like what the hell? That is one thing I did want to say. I love the fact that they showed the ancestral plane. That is something growing up in where I did in the South. This is going to sound weird to anybody who is not Southern, but if you were part of the church, and I was for a very short while, we've already had our religious talk. I'm not getting into that, but if you were a part of the church, there was this one thing, and I'm telling some black secrets here. Boy, I hope they don't revoke my black card, but being part of the church, you're still part of African culture. So my grandparents grew up on an island, a sea island, which isn't unusual, not to get into the whole slavery thing, but people brought here.
Right.
So, um, you would have to, when you were a certain age, you would go out, and there was this practice called seeking, and you would go out, and they would take you out in the middle of the night, and you would go to a tree, and you would pray to this tree, and then if the ancestor talked to you, then they would tell you like not your future, but what you were destined for, and how you need to be, and they would give you all of this guidance. So when I saw this in the movie, I was like, holy shit, this is kind of like
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to laugh, but I was just like, holy shit, this is actually like seeking, because they give you the herb and you kind of go into this trance, but they don't give
Right.
you an herb in church, but it was very similar. You have the
Right. Right.
ancestral plane talk to you, and I thought, geez, that is definitely rooted in some blackness. Like he wasn't playing when he came with this movie, because I can guarantee you there's probably a few people that were like, holy shit, that really does sound a lot like what I'm accustomed to. Just a
Yeah.
little black trivia for you. That's all. I'm just
No,
throwing that
that's
out there.
fascinating. I enjoyed that. That's cool. I love learning
Yeah.
about I love learning new stuff about cultures that aren't my own. Because I mean, being a
Yeah.
white guy, I don't have much culture. So,
And
so
I was toying with an idea of writing a horror story, a short story about that, but
oh,
I don't know. I never picked it up again. So maybe it's time for me to, maybe that's a sign for me to pick it up and do something with
there you
it. But
go.
anyway,
That'd be very cool.
we have anything more to say about Black Panther? I feel like I'm going into the black territory.
I think I've mostly said what I wanted to say. I don't think there's anything I can say more about it. Um, just I really enjoy the movie.
Hmm.
I think it's one of the better movies. I would have loved to have seen Chadwick Boseman in more. Obviously, it would have been great
Right,
seeing him in more. I'm glad that we got what we got
right.
with him. And as much as I really enjoyed Wakanda Forever, I don't know if we need much more without him. That's, I mean, I'm not saying that we shouldn't see more of that culture and that
Hmm.
and those and those characters. I think it's going to be so hard. I mean, I know Wakanda Forever did well, so I'm glad for that.
Hmm.
And so maybe we'll get more. That'll be cool. But if we don't, I kind of like that we got what we got. Um, and
I
that,
mean, I can
it's just this,
understand that. Yeah,
yeah.
just kind
I mean,
of,
yeah, I want more, but I just like if we don't get more, I like that we had what we had, especially with Chadwick Boseman.
hmm.
So, but yeah, it's just it's so tied to him. It feels weird to go on without him.
I think
Even
so
with
too. It
what they
it
did
feels
with Wakanda Forever, it just there was still something. There was still him missing from
there
everything
was that
about it.
missing. Yep.
Yeah,
The heart of it was missing. I mean, and
yeah.
everybody was wonderful in
They
that
did the best
movie.
they could for it. Yeah, and they did
But
great. They did absolutely great with it.
they
Um,
did, but you really do feel that that presence is
yeah,
not there. And I know that it had to be incredibly difficult for them
for all of them, yeah, because
to
they were a
film
family
that,
by that
and
point.
yeah,
Yeah,
and to feel his presence there and to miss his presence there. I can
yeah,
only imagine, but I know it probably made them stronger too
yeah.
as a crew and as a whole,
So I
to
will look
try and
forward to
carry it on.
anything they do. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
me
Sorry, I didn't mean
too.
to interrupt, but
No,
yeah.
no, no, you're fine.
But yeah, I'll look forward to anything they do get to do in the future with it. That will be cool. But yeah, here's hoping they do something with it at least. It'd be interesting to see what they can do with it.
Yeah, it's been nice seeing the various characters, like
Yeah,
just seeing especially on Falcon and the Winter Soldier where they had
yeah,
the the guards show up there, and I think
all right.
I can't remember Kurt Russell's kid's name. He was playing
The
the
Wyatt Russell, yeah,
yeah, he was playing the not the
John
new
Walker,
captain. Yeah, thank
yeah,
you. I couldn't remember his
yeah,
name. And he was putting his hand on one of them, and Bucky was just like giving him this look like, "Oh man, you fucked up."
yeah, yeah.
And then he just gets his ass handed to him, and I think like later on he's like, "They weren't even super soldiers," and I thought, "Oh no, they're not."
Nope,
He was just
they are the
crushed. I
Dora
felt,
Milaje. They will
oh
kick
yeah,
your
Dora
ass.
Milaje don't play. They do not
Oh,
play. And it
yeah.
was very fun to watch that. So it's nice to see them pop up,
Oh,
here
yeah,
and there.
definitely. Yeah, absolutely. And I love that they did that too, because Bucky, was part of their world a little bit, for a little while, and then
Yeah, so he was
we get to see
fully
him be a
aware of
part of
what
his
they were
world.
capable
Yeah,
of, and he was trying to warn you, like, that's not a
yeah,
good move. You do not want to touch her.
exactly. All right. Well, I am done. If you're done, we
Yeah,
can
I
just
think
let
so.
people know where they can find you online.
So I am pretty much everywhere except for Discord because I'm never there. But
You're not yet on Blue
Twitter,
Sky either. We got to get you on Blue Sky now
I'm
too.
getting on Blue Sky. I'm gonna get on Blue Sky. I'm gonna do that this weekend, I promise.
Okay.
So Blue
I got an
Sky, I'll be
invite
on
for
Blue
you.
Sky. Oh, thank you. Um, so I'll be on Blue Sky now, Discord, but really you can catch me at Twitter and Instagram, Donna underscore the underscore dead. And I have a podcast, so you can come and visit me and listen to me ramble like I did here.
Absolutely. Go listen to her podcast. It's great. I
Aw,
enjoy it
thanks.
very much.
Thank you. I enjoy yours. That's
Yeah.
why I listen
Thank you.
twice a week.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad to hear when anybody likes and enjoys it. So that's awesome.
Everybody likes it. Shut up.
Oh, whatever. Uh, but yes, thank you for joining me again. And you will be back very soon. In fact,
You
so
always make it sound like a threat when you say that.
it is a threat. It's a threat to my audience.
You should just go
He's coming
mwahaha while
back.
you're doing it. Oh, there it is. But yes, I will be back very soon.
Very soon. All right. Thanks again to Donna for joining me. On Monday, the first episode in a 4-part series on the Chucky movies begins. Katrina returns to the show to talk about the first Child's Play movie and the remake. On Friday, it's my 100th episode, and both Donna and Katrina are my guests for this special surprise episode. Don't miss it. Thanks for listening. Creepy and Geeky is a part of the Morbidly Beautiful podcast network. Please check out morbidlybeautiful.com/podcasts for more great shows. If you like what you've heard, please consider giving the show 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Also, please share the podcast on social media to help spread the word. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or at creepyandgeeky.com. Music for the podcast is Gratitude, composed by Jerry Smith. You can follow the podcast on social media at Creepy and Geeky on both Twitter and Instagram. If you'd like to follow me, I'm Geek Thulu on Twitter and Blue Sky, and geek.thulu on Instagram. You can support the podcast by ordering teas and more on TeePublic or by donating to the coffee page. All of the links are in the show notes. Finally, don't forget, stay creepy.